everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Wintuition MTG. My name is Wyatt, and today we have a high-powered deck tech for you of one of my favorite characters from Final Fantasy XIV Online, Y'shtola. Before that, though, I'd like to take one moment and thank our sponsors, TOA Magic. If you would like to support us and them while saving, you can visit their website, toamagic.com, and get 5% off your entire order at checkout. Once again, that's toamagic.com, and you can use our code WINTUITION at checkout for 5% off your entire order, and this includes everything in their site from Power 9 all the way down to sealed products. You can also find their booth at tons of different events, and they always have great trade-in deals and a massive selection of high-end singles for you to choose from. Once again, that's TOA Magic, Eternal lives here. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video. First thing I want to say is if any of the cards at any point are obviously out of your price range, or you or your playgroup don't want to play with them, feel free to replace them with something of your choosing, and it probably won't affect the overall power or potency of the deck, unless it's specifically one of the combo pieces. But if you don't want to play infinites anyway, that's also totally fine. You shouldn't worry about it. But starting off, obviously we're on Y'shtola, the Knight's Blessed, as our commander. And she is a 2/4 with Vigilance. At the beginning of each end step, if a player lost 4 or more life this turn, you draw a card. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell with mana value 3 or greater, Y'shtola does 2 damage to each opponent, and you gain 2 life. So we aren't trying to use this ability as anything more than just a value engine. We would just want to get incidental triggers here and there off Y'shtola. We're not building entirely around it, and we're also not using it as like a direct outlet to kill people unless we've already gone infinite through other means. But getting into it here, we'll start off with the creatures. We're going to be playing 2 of my favorite siblings from the Final Fantasy XIV game, Alphinaud and Alisaie. Both of them just allow you to draw extra cards and cast extra spells each turn, and it's not just on your turn, it's each turn, so this applies on your opponent's turns as well. So there's just some additional value there, plus I like them. They're cool characters. We're then following that up by playing a Consecrated Sphinx. Obviously, this is just one of the best draw engine creatures currently available to us. We have a Delny. Now, not only does this help trigger Y'shtola additional times, but it also triggers Alphinaud. We get our Displacer Kitten. We get Esper Sentinel triggers. We get Kumbul triggers, Bowmaster triggers, Papalimio. If we make Sakashima into things, that's counting. We get Tandem Lookout triggers, we get Tataru triggers, and Valley Floodcaller. Although Valley Floodcaller isn't as meaningful, that's mainly just untapping itself. But there are still quite a few things in the deck that Delny gives additional triggers to, so it's quite good, especially with our commander. If we can trigger the bottom ability off of a single spell, that will turn the top ability on for the turn, and then Delny will also draw 2 off of that, which is really good. Following that up, we're playing Displacer Kitten. This is mainly just going to be a value engine. It's not really in here to combo with anything, but to blink our mana rocks and or other things if we're like interacting, just to give us some more flexibility or to eke out just a little more mana or potentially like use it to save our creatures, anything of the sort. It's good overall. We're playing Emmett Selch, another new creature. I also am a big fan of this character from the games. He's just generically going to allow us to, play some of our value cards out of the graveyard, like some of our tutors, possibly some of our instants and sorceries if we're like in a counter spell war or anything like that. He doesn't necessarily like do a ton for the deck. I just really like him and wanted to include him because incidentally, he's still decent. Following that up, we've got an Enduring Tenacity. This is just good value when comboed with Y'shtola, although it doesn't go infinite with Y'shtola. We then have an Esper Sentinel, a Hullbreaker Esper Sentinel is obviously just good card draw. I didn't mean to blow past that, but then we also have Hullbreaker Horror. Hullbreaker Horror is in here as a 1-card combo with any of our positive mana rocks, and I can explain that when we get down to it. But as long as you have 2 rocks that can pay for themselves and net mana, then you're able to just make infinite mana, and once you've done that, with Hullbreaker Horror, you can then just play any other creatures as many times as you want to kill your opponents with Y'shtola. We're playing a 5-mana Jin-Gitaxias as another draw engine, as well as the backside of him is just generically good. We're playing a Kumbul as another way to drain people of life, and incidentally try to trigger the top half of Y'shtola. He's also just decent, like surprisingly decent in casual. There's a lot of ramp spells that get played, a lot of enchantments that get played. He's going to deal a decent chunk of damage for you. Then we've got Orcish Bowmasters. This card is obviously just a powerhouse. You should be running it in any deck that you can afford or want to. It's just super good. We have Papalimio, Totalimio, one of my favorite characters from Final Fantasy XIV. He is an absolute unit of a man, and I would ask that you please put some respect on it. Now, as for his magic card variant, it's nowhere near as impressive. However, it is still very good. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, he's going to ping our opponents and we're going to gain life. Incidentally, he's just going to allow us to try to activate the top ability of Y'shtola more by feeding some more life loss to our opponents every turn. He's not really like a main combo line or anything. I put him in here just because I really like the character, and the card incidentally is still decent in the deck. Following that, we've got Roaming Throne. Now, Roaming Throne is a very greedy include because we actually don't have, I think outside of humans, check my creatures here. We've got 5 humans and 5 wizards. We don't have a lot of shared creature types in our deck. So if you don't want to pick Y'shtola, you're probably picking humans or wizards. Although I'm playing it purely to name Y'shtola so that I can trigger the bottom ability one time, and that will trigger the top ability twice because the Roaming Throne will copy the activations. But I feel like just only having to cast one thing to get multiples of both triggers every turn is really, really good. Incidentally, it's also really good with all of our other things. Like if you name humans, you're getting double Tandem Lookouts, double Cabal, double Delny, double Esper Sentinel. Where's our other human? And double Sakashima. If theoretically you turn it into a human, I believe it loses its creature type. On wizards, you're getting double Alisei, double Alphinaud. That's alright. Double Emmet. That doesn't really help a ton. Wizards might not actually... You're probably just staying on human or cat warlock. Moving past the creatures, though. Oh, wait a minute. I got ahead of myself. Sorry. We were only on Roaming Throne. Now moving down, we have Sakashima. Sakashima we're playing so that we can make either a copy of Y'shtola or just any of our other value creatures, really whatever you want at the time. I'm just a big fan of it, and I would love having possibly 2 Y'shtolas. It just is a lot of value being something like Delny or Roaming Throne out there with them. We're playing 4 mana Shieldred because this punishes people drawing cards. Obviously, it's awesome. It also drains life so that we can try to trigger the top half of Y'shtola. We have a Tandem Lookout that allows you to kind of have a third Curiosity effect in the deck with Y'shtola. You just soul bond this with her, and then you draw cards as you're dealing all of your damage. So you can kind of, or try to have a constantly full hand. Then we're playing Tataru, another one of my favorite characters from Final Fantasy XIV. Tataru, just like in the game, is always going to have your back. She's always looking out for you, and so she's just generically a good card. When she enters, you draw, and target opponent may draw. Then, whenever opponents draw and it's not their turn, you're going to get tapped treasures. This is really decent. You're probably, even in casual, going to get maybe 1-2 treasures per turn cycle, if not more. It's still a pretty solid card overall, and once again, I'm just a big fan of the character. Following that, we're playing a Tibet. This is just a good value engine creature in the colors, and it could be a meaningful attacker in the air to potentially kill people, while also just giving us more mana, clues, whatever we need at the time. Big fan of Tibet. Love playing with him. We've got Valley Floodcaller in the deck, purely so that we have a second flash outlet besides our Leyline of Anticipation. The bottom part, incidentally, does go infinite with some cards in Magic. I chose not to include those, though, so you're basically only playing Floodcaller for its flash ability, but that's still really good. Then our last creature is going to be a Vito Thorn, and we're playing this because this is going to, along with Enduring Tenacity, combo with our Sanguine Bond that we have down here. Wait, nope. That's the wrong one. I have to put an Exquisite Blood. I'm glad I noticed that. Sorry, I made this deck when I was coming home after work, and it was like 3 in the morning. Okay, there we go. So now, pretend no one saw anything. Our Veto Thorn goes infinite with our Exquisite Blood, along with our Enduring Tenacity. It's just one of the combos in the deck, as well as just the Exquisite Blood generically being a good value engine with Y'shtola. Same thing with the Veto and Enduring Tenacity. Moving down into our sorceries, we have an Austere Command. It's just a very powerful, flexible board wipe. You could theoretically run Farewell if you wanted. Here, I just don't want to exile my own stuff to the graveyard because I'm running a Time Twister in my list. But if you're playing a different wheel in the slot of Time Twister and prefer Farewell, I do think it's slightly better. Once again, I'm just only doing it because I want my graveyard. I'm playing a Demonic Tutor after that. It's just one of the best generic tutors. Playing an Expropriate because I wanted to play 2 extra turn spells, and Expropriate and Nexus of Fate happen to be my 2 favorite. Oftentimes, if you resolve Expropriate, people would just concede, and so I look at it as a 9-mana win con more often than not, and I'll win the game for 9 mana. I'm more than happily doing that. Following that, we have a Supreme Verdict, just another good board wipe that can't be countered. Then I have a Time Twister because I happen to own one for my EDH decks. If you don't want to play this card or don't want to proxy it, you can just run a Windfall. You'll be perfectly fine. It won't make a difference. After that, I'm also running a Toxic Deluge as just a flexible board wipe to potentially allow us to keep some of our bigger toughness creatures. Okay, so moving down into the instance here, we've obviously got Cyclonic Rift. It's a back-breaking card for your opponents to play through, and it can undo literal turns of progress, on top of just being used as a critical spot removal piece if needed. Speaking of spot removal, we're only playing Deadly Rollick and Dismember, and I opted not to play more removal in the deck, purely because we're trying to go over our opponents or just blow them out entirely, so we're either opting to play board wipes to remove things in mass, or we want to dig for our win cons and combo pieces to try to go over our opponents. We need to worry about keeping the entire board clear at all times, especially because we have some other means in our decks to protect ourselves through some of our enchantments, and we also have a decent suite of creatures to allow for blockers, as well. So we weren't too worried about that, and I opted to go for 2 other removal spells that triggered Y'shtola just for incidental value. Following that up, we have an Enlightened Tutor. We're playing this outside of the black tutors because it's 1 mana and it's so efficient, plus in artifacts and enchantments, we have so many things in our deck that can either win us the game outright or help us win. We can get Bolas' Citadel, Aether Flux Reservoir, or Sensei's Top to get any piece of that 3-card combo. We could go get the One Ring if we need cards. You could go get Curiosity or Ophidian Eye if you need cards. You could get Propaganda or Ghostly Prison if you need to stay alive. You can get Exquisite Blood or Enduring Tenacity or Veto if you want to get a combo there. All kinds of great targets, so we're just playing that. Then we're obviously, like I said though, still on the black tutors. Then following that up in our counterspell suite, we aren't playing a ton, but we are playing some, because similar to the removal spells, we're just trying to stop things that are going to prevent us from winning instead of trying to stop everything. So we want to be more mindful of them, and we didn't need to play as many. So we're only on ones that we can either cast for free or with alternative costs that also happen to trigger our commander, which is why we're on Fierce Guardianship, Force of Negation, Force of Will, and Misdirection. After that, we're playing our second extra turn spell of Nexus of Fate. I am a massive fan of this card, not only because does it shuffle back into your deck incidentally, but if someone ever tries to mill you and you have the ability to draw a card, you can then go infinite after they try to mill you out, because then they've set your Nexus of Fate up as the only card left in your deck. And that I've done that twice to people, and it feels so satisfying. On top of that, I also just enjoy the ability to recast it if you can retutor for it or redraw into it, whatever. I'm a big fan of the card, although it's obviously a design mistake. It is too powerful at the same time, in my opinion. I don't think it's ban-worthy. I just think it's overtuned for an extra turn spell. Anyway, after that, we have Teferi's Protection. Obviously, just another powerful card that can keep you alive in the game or blow your opponents out. Oftentimes, you're using this as a fog to save yourself. It's just generically so powerful and versatile. And then our last instant is going to be Vamp Tutor. This is just kind of obvious. We want more tutors so that we can go get whatever we want in the moment we want it. Moving on to our artifacts, we've got an Aether Flux. And like I said before, that's mainly in the deck so that with our incidental life gain, we might be able to kill people. Or if we get Bolas' Citadel and Sensei's Top, we can outright kill people, which is just decently good. We have an Arcane Signet in the Mana Rocks, and then a Bolas's Citadel. Now, our average CMC for Citadel is... hold on, we're not the best Citadel deck, so it's mainly going to be in there for color. Or sorry, not colors, but for combo. Because we've got 4 there. In our creature suite, we've got quite a few at 4 mana or higher. Same thing in our sorceries. Instants, we've got quite a few at 3 or higher mana. And all of this happens to be because we want to trigger Y'shtola, so we happen to be playing several cards that are higher cost. So as you can see, oftentimes we aren't going to be able to play probably more than like 3 to 5 things off of Bolas's Citadel before we've lost a significant chunk of life. So unless you've gained a decent chunk of life off of Y'shtola already, or you're just ready to combo out, you might just want to sandbag the Bolas's Citadel. And if you're not a fan of playing it for just this reason, and you feel like it's too clunky in the deck, feel totally free to cut it. You'll be fine either way. Following that, we've got a Chromatic Ori. I'm just a big fan of this card as a mana rock. It combos amazingly with Displacer Kitten for just great generic value. And overall, it can draw cards. Just I love it. It essentially costs 2 mana when you play it. It's great. It's great. Then we've got a Chrome Mox, obviously just a great acceleration piece. Fellwar Stone, another efficient, cheap mana rock. Same with Mana Vault. Sensei's Top can be good value or a combo piece. Then we've got Soul Ring, obviously just good. We're playing all 3 of our talismans because once again, we just want to accelerate into some of our more expensive cards quicker. And then we are on our last artifact slot with a One Ring. And this is just obviously a busted card. If you can land this, you're going to draw so many cards. Moving down into our second to last category, we've got the enchantments here. I'm on Amphibian Downpour. Now, even if you're not doing this for like Storm 1000, I still love this card for even if you only take out like 3 to 4 things with it, it's still amazing. Especially in casual, where people are going to tend to be playing a lot more of these big splashy Haymaker creature bombs. You can just kind of sit on this and then eliminate a full field of threats in a single turn. It's so good. Plus, you get to make them into little frogs. And who doesn't like free frogs? Following that, we've got a Black Market Connection. This card is just great generic value. I'm oftentimes both drawing a card and making a treasure every turn. And with the life gain we have from Y'shtola, it will slightly offset the life loss of the cost. Then we have a Blood Chief Ascension after that. This card is also just in the deck to gain us incidental life and to punish our opponents for with loss of life. But incidentally, this helps feed into several of our other things that we need to pay life into, or to Y'shtola or Adaflux Reservoir, things like that. After that, we've got a Curiosity. We want to put this or the Ophidian Eye on our Y'shtola as soon as we can every game, because then we will be drawing, is it each opponent, correct? It is. So every time you trigger that ability, you're drawing 3 cards off Y'shtola, which is really, really good. And it's just going to be one of the main engines in your deck. Plus, they're the one's very cheap mana-wise at 1 mana. Then, I mentioned it earlier, but we've obviously got Exquisite Blood as a combo piece, and also as a way for us to gain more life through Y'shtola's abilities. We've got a Ghostly Prison and a Propaganda, both in there to make it harder for our opponents to pressure our life total and to pressure us, along with our board wipes and other pieces of interaction we have. The goal is just to stall out until we're ready to win the game. Following that, we've got a Leyline of Anticipation as a second flash enabler, because Y'shtola can trigger on every player's turn. So if we're able to play things on every player's turn, that just means we're drawing even more cards, gaining even more life, and doing even more damage. We're just punishing our opponents to the maximum. Following that, we have a Painful Quandary. This doesn't hit us, it just hits opponents. And if they choose to lose their life when they're casting their spells, that's free Y'shtola triggers. And if they're discarding cards, you're taking things out of their hand. At 5 mana, it's a little pricey, but I feel like when comboed with other cards and effects we have in the deck, it's going to be very, very brutal for your opponents. Then after that, like I said, we have Propaganda, and we also have a Rhystic Study. Obviously, you're playing Rhystic Study because it's one of the best blue cards in Commander. Even if you just make your opponents pay 1 more for everything, you're still denying them mana or getting cards. Both are good. And then after that, we have Smothering Ties. or Smothering Tithe, obviously just a great treasure generator so that we can get more mana for all of our expensive cards, and we have Trouble in Pairs to finish it out, which is also just another good card which can incidentally prevent extra turns, but also ideally will draw us even more cards so that we can cast even more spells. I don't know if you can tell, but I love drawing cards. Finally, we're going to go ahead and get into the lands here. Now, the lands are probably going to be where you might need to make some budget cuts similar to like other parts of the deck, but if you have to replace things, don't feel bad at all. Just play whatever options you can comfortably run on a budget, and it shouldn't affect the overall performance of the deck too much at all. But starting off, we have Adakar Waste, just a good filter land. We've got Ancient Tomb, which incidentally, the life loss we'll hopefully be able to offset with our Y'shtola, but we have some expensive cards, so the acceleration is good. Caves of Koilos, good filter land. City of Brass, good for filtering. Same thing for Command Tower and Exotic Orchard. We're playing a couple of the fetches, but I only put in the fetches that are the dual colors of the deck, so we're only playing the 3, so you can go get what you need. We are playing all 3 shock lands of Godless Shrine, Hallowed Fountain, and Watery Grave. We're running 4 of each basic. And then similar to other filter lands, you're just running a Mana Confluence, got a Morphic Pool, and an Otawara. Normally, you don't want to be playing your Otawara unless you have to. You want to be sitting on it for the channel ability, but it's good either way. Then we're running all 3 OG dual lands just because I happen to own copies of them, but if you have to replace them with other lands, do not feel bad. You'll be totally fine. After that, we've got a Sea of Clouds, and Undercity Sewers. I did only opt to play 1 Surveil land in the list because I'm not a big fan of lands coming in untapped. However, feel free to add in the other 2 in the colors if you value those effects and you don't mind that. It's still really powerful. Like I said, it's just not for me. I only tend to run the 1 in case I want to fetch on end of turn. Then I've got an Underground River for more filtering, an Urborg just to incidentally help once again with our colors, and then a Vault of Champions to finish her out at the end. Alright, that's going to be the end of our video here today, everybody. Hopefully you enjoyed watching. My name's Wyatt from Wintuition MTG, and if you end up playing this deck with some of your friends, let us know in the comments below. Once again, though, feel free to make any changes or tunes that you might need to fit your specific play group. Hopefully you enjoy it, and have a nice day.